I had become addicted to heroin at the last bit, using a needle, which I swore I would never do, just the lowest of lowest. But I found myself sitting within my car, not leaving my car, using the bathroom outside my car, hadn't showered for months, just stuck, begging God to die. I'm sitting looking outside Galveston Beach, just looking out at the ocean, just asking God, I've set everything up. Like, why am I still here? This is it. Like, how long do
Yeah.
I have to sit in this and like wait for you just to take me? I remember just sitting in my car, just looking out at the ocean, and I had gotten really weak, just so weak and just not well. And I just remember um just feeling this rush of knowing that it was just life or death at this very moment. I could just feel I was just in this spiral of a moment. And I just heard the word live.
Holy Spirit, have your way. Welcome to Grace and Truth podcast with Bobby Marquez Jr., where faith meets real life. Today's guest, Candice Lewis, is a powerful woman of influence whose story will move and inspire you. Once caught in the storms of domestic violence, addiction, homelessness, trauma, and mental health struggles, Candice's life is now a testimony of healing, resilience, and grace. Stay tuned because you're about to hear how her faith and determination turn pain into purpose. Oh, Candice, thank you for being on the show today. So why don't you share with us about your journey?
Oh, it begins a long time ago. But I had a pretty good childhood for the most part. I did struggle with some stuff, an alcoholic stepfather, but my mom really did the best that she could in the given situation, and really showed that love and the compassion towards us growing up in that. And so that was a real big staple growing up. Going into my teenage years was not so easy. The teenage years really kind of gave me the boot a little bit, if you will. My father was going through his own struggles whenever my mother became pregnant. And so he was absent from my life for the majority of my childhood life. There was sometimes in and out, but for the majority, and he was being a single father on the other side. Now I know in that moment, but it was kind of challenging as a child, being raised in that situation, seeing a stepfather raise my two sisters and stuff. And I was kind of like a little black sheep, if you will. And so it kind of
Yeah.
just added some added abandonment feelings and resentment, and kind of just pushed me back starting from real young. But it really took place into my life in my teenage years. And I started finding myself seeking men for attention and for love, trying to find that person for me, which ended into a pretty downward spiral. I was a victim of a rape with two brothers, and it was just devastating for me. And I had no idea how to heal from it. And I just had hits after hits kind of happen. My best friend passed away from cancer when I was 17. So it was just a spiral, and I just couldn't catch my ground for nothing. And I didn't necessarily have a lot of support in that realm. You know, we're raised in this era of just kind of, you keep it just hushed down. You know, you don't really share what you're feeling. You're not able to really express those things. And so you kind of hold it all in. And um, it really came to a peak. It came to a peak that, yeah, it just spiraled out. I spent 17 years in addiction, trying to use it as a comfort tool, I guess, if you will. The best way I guess I can describe it was my partner, you know, the thing I needed, that connection that I was seeking so much. I found it in the drug world. All friends. We don't want to call them friends.
What that age group, that age range right there that you just expressed, that was from what age did you start into when did you start finding some
About
freedom through all this?
when I was 16 till I was about 30 years old. And it was just a long spiral. Yeah, a lot of spiraling, couch surfing, homelessness, drug dealing, just really dark stuff that it's really surreal that that was my life. I kind of can look at it now and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, all that happened and it's so real, and but there's freedom on this side.
It's amazing that you came out of that because not everybody comes out of that. And it sounds like it was a really dark place. I'm just so grateful that you got your life turned around, and I know that your story can encourage somebody today. So when
Absolutely.
did things start to turn around? What'd that look
Well,
like?
I remember that day like it was yesterday. And it was kind of like a last 6 months, let's say. The last 6 months of my addiction, the darkest part of it. I had become addicted to heroin at the last bit, using a needle, which I swore I would never do. Just the lowest of lowest. But I found myself sitting within my car, not leaving my car, using the bathroom outside my car, hadn't showered for months, just stuck, begging God to die. I'm sitting looking outside Galveston Beach, just looking out at the ocean, just asking God, I've set everything up. Like, why am I still here? I'm ready. This is it. Like, how long do
Yeah.
I have to sit in this and like wait for you just to take me, you know? And I'd just be waking up, coming to, waking up, coming to, like just doing what I needed. It was just a cycle. I remember just sitting in my car, just looking out at the ocean, and I had gotten really weak, just so weak and just not well. And I just remember um just feeling this rush of knowing that it was just life or death at this very moment. I could just feel I was just in this spiral of a moment. And I just heard the word live, and it was
Mm,
within me, and I just heard the word live. And
mm,
when I heard that word, you would think it would be different, but I laughed. I laughed and I'm like, live? Like live? Like I've been sitting here begging you to let me die. What do you mean, live? Live? That was like the most positive word I've had heard in so long, live. Like that's like the other
yeah.
side of like everything I'm doing on this side. What do you mean live? Um and
Yeah.
I was just like, "What?" And I just remember sitting there consumed in that word for a minute, and then
Mm,
I we're a master of manipulation when we're in our addiction. The mind is just so powerful. All this stuff that we fed ourselves within it. And I had manipulated my thinking to be like, oh, he wants me to live to get to my mom's. I hadn't seen my mom in a year. And he
okay.
didn't want me to die in the car. I had told him, I thought in my head, oh, everything that I was okay. He didn't want me to die. My mom's not gonna, I'm 13 hours away from my mom. My mom, that's not part of this story. Like, go to
Mm,
mom's, and this is like, cause I felt like I was dying, like everything about me. And so I remember in that moment, I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm coming home.
yeah.
It took me
Wow.
3 days, 3 long, long, treacherous days. I remember for a day and a half circling around in an hour and a half radius, not even able to leave that like little stretch. It was just this like weird like cycle thing. Finally, I called my mom, like I was waiting on money or like this they'll connect. It was just like not working. It was not. I'm like, what I needed to get was just a long stretch. I needed to get something or I'm not going to make it that far.
Yeah.
And I remember I called my mom and said, Mom, you're going to have to plug in or I'm not going to make it. I need you
Hmm.
to like be on the phone, plug your phone in the charger and stay on the phone with me. And she did for a while. And in the moments that she was not, I was having to run. I just remember having like this cooler next to me with just old cardboard and just weird stuff. Like, I
Wow.
don't even want to know what was all in there and just
Yeah.
using it to like run through everything I had just to be able to get enough, just to make it to my mom's house. But it
Yeah.
took me 3 days to finally get there. And that was probably my first time, honestly, to detox from using heroin, all that stuff for years. Like finally, like this
Mhm.
downfall, and it was a semi truck ran over me 10 times and worse. And I went through a severe detox at my mom's, and I never wanted my mother to ever have to see me in that shape ever. That's why I stayed away, so that way people didn't
Yeah.
have to see that dark side of it and not
Yeah.
to hurt me even worse. And so after a few days of that, we don't want to go into the details of the horrifying of detox, but it was gnarly. And my mom finally had come in there. I just kept kind of, I would like yell at my mom almost, and then like take it back. Like it was in the moments of like eerie a little bit. And I remember my mom coming in and she's like, Candice, I don't think I could do this. To hear my
Right.
mom say those words, my mom's never said those words to me like that. In other
Right.
ways, like, yeah, you can't do, like, I can't do this, like, if you're using all this. But this isn't my cry for help. This is me. I'm not out using. I'm like here. I haven't left the bed. Like, I'm like, I'm fighting for my life in this very moment.
Yeah.
And my daughter's coming to see me sitting next to the bed. Like this is in my head. I'm thinking this is me. This is me going. And my mom, when she said that, I sat in that room and I just cried and I just had no idea what was the next answer for me. I couldn't see what the next 5 minutes would have been in my life.
Yeah. And let me ask you, so that time right there, what you felt, what you've expressed to our viewers, what
Mhm.
you've expressed here on the
Yeah.
show is that feeling of, I mean, I sense like a feeling of hopelessness, a
Mhm.
feeling of
Oh, yeah.
just like wonder,
Same.
like you said, I didn't know what was next. Like, I mean, at what age are you during this time period right here when that was
I
part
would
of
have
your
been at
story?
31 now. 31.
That was, how long ago was that?
That was been 5 years ago.
That was 5 years ago. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And so 5 years ago, that's where you were at.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what was the turning point? If you could just
Well,
share with our viewers, what was the turning point? Just briefly talk about that
mhm.
turning point and how that set you on a new path and then what that path looked like.
Awesome. All right. So that next path, that's the exciting part. That's the most fun part to share. And so that turning point, when my mother said that to me, I had to sit in it. And so I went into the living room finally and I said, okay, then what do we do? And my stepdad, for the first time in a long time, looked over at me, said, let's go talk to our pastor. And he had gone to a local church. And so we went and met with them, and they recommended me to go to Teen Challenge. And it
Wow.
was a long commitment. It was a year-long commitment. It wasn't a commitment issue for me at all. I was ready in that form. I knew I had to do something drastic, and whatever
Right.
that looked like. And so
Right.
I ended up going to Teen Challenge. I did the program. I completed the program. After completing the program, I did have a relapse for 1 day encounter, and I went back to program for 5 months, which was super
Yeah.
intense, but God had another breakthrough for me.
You went on
I
staff at
did.
the Teen
I did.
Challenge. You were
Yeah.
working, you were serving God, you were serving
Mhm.
people, and
Yeah.
you were doing well. This podcast is gonna touch thousands of
Repeat.
lives. And here's the
Absolutely.
thing, we do not know who's gonna hear and what they're gonna hear, when they're gonna chime
Mhm.
in or not. The bottom line is there was a period you had finished the program, you're on staff,
Yeah.
you're doing great, and there was just something that took place. Briefly, what happened to your focus? Would you say that
I
why don't you
tried
tell us
helping
about
somebody that I probably shouldn't have helped. I shouldn't have connected out with, some friends that I had used with, the last people I had
okay.
probably used with, and I should not have tried to go right back to try to save them. That was my problem.
You took
I
your
was not
focus,
ready
but
to
you put
go
your
into.
right, so you took your
Yeah.
focus shifted a little bit, right? You were
Mhm.
working, you were focused,
Absolutely.
and now there's nothing wrong with helping people, but
Yeah.
there was just how do you feel like that what
So,
happened in that situation that caused you to stumble?
I truly feel like God had a plan in all this, in my read, because I had said it one time in program. I said, if I would have relapsed with anybody, I mentioned that one person's name, and that one person came back into my life. And
Mm,
I had to walk that challenge. God had a challenge for me, and I had to walk it out. And he had a lesson for that. And I learned a lot in that lesson. Sometimes he's got to
yeah,
give us a little lesson, and that's okay. As long
that's
as we
right.
have that willingness to be able to see where he's trying to guide us, he will do something amazing if you allow him to in that moment. In the hardest moment, let me tell you, when I relapsed, I cried and
Mhm,
sulked for hours, hours and
yeah,
hours. And if it was not for the love and the compassion that you and Miss Tracy showed me in that time,
yeah,
you allowed me to just weep, and you
thanks
were
God.
there to support, but you were there as accountable. And in those choices of being able to allow me to share that space with you in that moment, it
Mm,
absolutely changed the whole trajectory of my life and my recovery now. Because now I was shown the example of what it means when someone does slip. Slips happen. People are going to slip.
yeah,
People are
that's right.
going to have
Yeah,
speed bumps. That's life. We're unrealistic if we're not going to
right.
say that things are not going to happen. You're fooling yourselves if you
Yeah,
think that. But God
that's
never
right.
says that you will do it alone. He will be with you, and he will guide you
Ooh,
through it, and
come
he
on,
will give you the grace, because
come
he
on.
will. He will. I have seen it.
That's right.
And
Well, folks, that concludes part one of Candace's story. We hope that you'll join us for part two, which will be recorded and released soon. In part two, we will witness what life has been like for Candace since she's moved on from Teen Challenge. Come expecting because you will be blessed. Okay? Thank you so much for joining us. And this is Bobby Marquez Jr. with Grace and Truth Media Podcast saying stay rooted in grace and keep walking in truth. All right. God bless you.